San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today the Padres take on the Los Angeles Dodgers in Game 2 of the National League Division Series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Dodgers, right-hander Jack Flaherty, and for the Padres, right-hander Yu Darvish. Hi again everyone, Sam Levitt with you inside Dodger Stadium. First pitch coming up at 5:03 p.m. for the second game of this best-of-5 division series. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We'll hear from Luis Sarai, Xander Bogaerts, and in just a little bit, we'll check in with Tony Gwynn Jr. But first, let's set the table. Brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside. We set the table with a quick look at our pitching matchup here today. Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres. His last 4 starts of the regular season, a 2.78 ERA in 22-plus innings. Meanwhile, Jack Flaherty on the mound for LA. He grew up in the Los Angeles area, will make his first postseason start for his hometown team. Flaherty was traded from the Tigers to the Dodgers at the trade deadline, and we'll have much more on that starting pitching matchup here in Game 2 coming up a little bit later on. Well, it was a back-and-forth Game 1 to begin this NLDS. Let's take a look back.
How did the Padres fare in their last game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind. Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
The Padres got off to a really quick start against Dodgers starter Yoshinobu Yamamoto. The Padres scored an early run in the first inning, and then it was Manny.
1-2 is hit in the air to deep left center field. Edmonds going back. He's at the wall looking. This one gonna go for the second time this year. Manny goes big fly in the first inning against Yamamoto. A 2-run homer and a 3-0 Padre lead.
In the bottom half of the second inning, Dylan Cease started the inning by allowing a walk and a single. With 2 outs, it was Shohei Ohtani.
And Ohtani swings, hits it in the air, deep to right field for Get. 3-1 homer tie game. And just a majestic shot to right for Ohtani. His first career postseason home run. But he said it was going to be easy. 3-3 here in the second.
We were tied at 3-3 at the end of 2 innings. The Padres answered in the top of the third. There were 2 on for Xander Bogaerts.
Mando dancing, Yamamoto preoccupied by him. He comes home. Bogart swings, lines it down the left field side. That's a fair ball. Hernandez slides to try and cut it off. He can't. Rolls behind him, gets stuck in the base of the wall. Both runs are going to score. Bogart's at second, and the Padres back in front. It's 5-3.
In the 4th inning, the Dodgers loaded the bases for Mookie Betts. A wild pitch allowed a run to score. It was 5-4. That wild pitch made the count 2-2. The Padres then elected to intentionally walk Betts with the count 2-2. That loaded the bases again with 1 out. With 2 outs and the bases still loaded, Dodgers down by 1. It was Teoscar Hernandez.
1-0 pitch. And Hernandez lines it sharply into center. Merrill charging, tries to make the underhand catch. It kicks behind him. 2 runs have scored. They'll hold Freeman at third as the throw comes into Bogaerts, and the Dodgers lead for the first time tonight. It's 6-5.
The Dodgers scratched across a run in the bottom half of the 5th inning to make it 7-5. LA's bullpen then locked in. It was still 7-5 in the top of the 8th inning. They loaded the bases, couldn't score in the top of the 9th inning. The Padres put the tying runs on base once again. It was Manny Machado against Blake Trinan.
Trinan is ready. Here's the pitch. Manny swings and misses. Strike 3. Chase that sweeper away, and the ball game is over as the Dodgers take Game 1 of the National League Division Series by a final of 7-5.
And that was that. Dodgers taking a 1-0 lead in this best-of-5 series. And now the Padres trying to head home back to San Diego with a split of the first 2 games of this series here in L.A. As we get ready for first pitch coming up at 5:08 p.m., let's go inside the Padres radio booth.
Let's go inside the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup from Tony Gwynn Jr. in our Padres game preview. Presented by Broken Yo Cafe. With 15 San Diego locations, live on the sunny side and start your day at Broken Yo Cafe.
All right, I said 5:08 p.m. I meant 5:03 p.m. first pitch here in Game 2. Who knows with all the different and kind of weird start times here in the postseason. 5:03 p.m. first pitch with Yu Darvish on the mound for San Diego as we welcome in Tony Gwynn Jr. And Tony, before we talk about Game 2, your overall thoughts on Game 1, what we saw early on, the way the Padres approached Shohei Ohtani, and how things evolved as the game went along last night.
Well, I think my partner described it best. It was a heavyweight fight, and it seemed like in the early rounds they were just standing in the middle of the ring slugging one another. And then things kind of settled down, and I still thought the Padres had opportunities. And, unfortunately they weren't able to cash some of those in. And in terms of Ohtani, I thought at least in Game 1 and how, things kind of transpired earlier, I didn't have a problem with how the Padres attacked Ohtani or chose to attack him. I thought early in the game, I certainly was okay with it. I know he ended up hitting a three-run homer, but as a team all year long, the Padres have thrived on being able to really add runs late. And they had the opportunities to do so, but just didn't cash them in. And, unfortunately, that's how baseball goes sometimes. I think on the other note is that the bullpen, outside of I believe it was Morty Holmes' single that he gave up or that scored 2. The bullpen was pretty good. Unfortunately, when you get into those type of slugfests, you got to try to cash in on those opportunities that you get. And the Dodgers did a little bit more than the Padres did.
And we'll hear from Xander Bogaerts a little bit later, but one thing he talked about today, this team has had the ability to bounce back all season long, and that's what it is about in the postseason. You have a lot of tough losses, even in a great postseason, even in a World Series run, you have to find a way to bounce back. Padres have an opportunity to do that here in Game 2. Let's talk about Yu Darvish, Tony. Final 4 starts of the regular season, they were pretty good. You looked pretty sharp. What do you view as the keys here tonight for Yu Darvish against this LA lineup?
An early start, and I say that a little cautiously because in 22 he gave up the early home run, but then settled in thereafter and was able to give the Padres a good start. And so I think ideally you'd like to have him get off to a good start early. And I think probably as important, the offense has to get off to a good start. Obviously going up against a guy like Jack Flaherty, putting up early runs is, even though it didn't work out last night, is still, I think, the best way to go. And so, especially given the way Yu has thrown the ball over the last 4 starts, he's really been good. He's kind of shelved the slider and has used the sweeper a lot more here in recent starts. And you just feel good with a pitcher like Yu Darvish, down 0-1, towing the rubber. You have to feel pretty good as a ball club.
I want to go back to the offense before I let you go, Tony. Obviously facing Flaherty here tonight, the final 6 innings of yesterday's game. Pretty quiet, had the big-time opportunities in the 8th and the 9th and couldn't cash in. Like we've already discussed, overall offensively, anything different the Padres need to do approach-wise here tonight against Flaherty, against this LA bullpen, or one of those things where they got to him early and maybe just a matter of time here tonight until this Padres offense gets it going again?
Listen, I think it's important to note that this Dodger pitching staff as a whole is not whole. They're not at full strength. And although they got the win yesterday, they still had to lean on 5 different guys to get through it. And a guy like Blake Treinen, who may still be available today, he threw 39 pitches. How effective can he be in back-to-back nights? And
right.
So for the Padres, they created the opportunity. Now, they didn't get the big hit. And listen, I know we'll focus on the 8th and 9th, but they had a leadoff double in the 4th. And just adding 1 run here and there is a difference maker in these type of series. And so that's an area that the Padres have been phenomenal really all season long. You just have to kind of hope that was just a one-off and that you create those opportunities again. You'll have better luck cashing them in. And I think that's really where the difference falls in this series between these 2 teams.
All right, Tony, have fun with Game 2. We'll talk to you and Jesse coming up promptly at 4:53 p.m. as Yu Darvish takes the mound here tonight for the Padres, with the Padres searching for a win here in Game 2 of this National League Division Series. Tony, as always, thanks so much.
Thank you, Sam.
All right, that's Tony Gwynn Jr. joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network. Again, first pitch at 5:03, and we've got a lot to do between now and first pitch from L.A. When we come back, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. A little bit later, we hear from Xander Bogaerts, who had a big 2-run double in Game 1. Xander, of course, a 2-time World Series champion with the Boston Red Sox. He knows a thing or two about what it takes to succeed this time of year in the postseason. We'll hear a little bit from Luis Arraez as well. Our keys to the game and much, much more to come as we get you ready for Game 2 of this National League Division Series here in L.A. on the Padres Radio Network. Back here on the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal 2024 BBB Torch Awards for Ethics winner. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Your water should it be perfect. Sam Levitt with you inside the Dodger Stadium here in L.A. as we get you ready for Game 2 of the National League Division Series. The Padres and the Dodgers. The Dodgers winning last night 7-5. The Padres trying to guarantee a split of the first two games in this series before this series moves to San Diego with Game 3 on Tuesday at Petco Park. Let's hear what Padres manager Mike Shildt had to say before today's game.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
We'll get into this a little bit later, but one of the issues for the Padres last night, beyond Shohei Ohtani hitting the home run, beyond the two-run single from Teoscar Hernandez as part of that fourth inning, was the fact that the Padres did not do a great job against the bottom of the Dodger lineup, and that created a lot of opportunities for the top of the Dodger lineup to have runners in scoring position, have runners on base. So here was Mike Shildt. He begins by talking about the Padres allowing that Dodger bottom of the lineup to get on base quite a bit last night.
We weren't able to keep him off in front of him. That's a big key to this, and then it becomes situational, right? And I can't go through every situation. Last night we had a situation that I felt extremely good about in how we managed that situation in the fourth inning. I couldn't have slept any better with how that went down and the matchups we got in a tough situation. And so, but specifically though, Tani, clearly he's a generational talent. So we need to be mindful of that and, continue to play it by ear and what the situation calls for. We have conversations about it, obviously, but we get that bottom half of the order, cleaned up. They're good players too, and then figure out a way to execute against him. He's still human. I talked about it last night. We executed multiple at bats last night and got him out. We executed an at bat that broke his bat that didn't allow us to get an out, and that's part of the proverbial game. But clearly we recognize he's a dangerous part of their lineup.
Mike, what's the confidence level with Darvish on the mound, knowing that he's been in basically this exact same situation 2 years ago and he's been in a number like it?
Really high. This is a tested guy, whether it's international or, clearly here. He's a guy that's pitched very well, big moments, not going to shy away from it, knows the arena. So we're excited to have him go tonight.
After getting 3 1/3 from your starter last night, how's your bullpen today after having to use a lot of guys last night?
Well, he passed the ball around pretty well last night. Adam went back out. Obviously, Estrada went back out. Pretty efficient. Adam was really efficient. We knew when he went back out, we wanted to take down Hernandez. Had toyed with Muncy, but, we figured, okay, got his guy, go get Hoying to, knock down the rest of that inning, keep him fresh for today. I expect everybody to be available. We just came off 2 days off.
Hey, Mike, just curious, how much does your replay strategy change in the postseason with that extra challenge that you get?
Yeah, good question. Clearly we can be a little more aggressive. Used it last night. Thought it was a great opportunity to do it. But especially early on, I really kind of subscribed in general to, if we think we got a shot at it, we take it. If we think we're going to get away from either saving a run or, putting together an opportunity to take away from a run or adding one, we'll take it. But yeah, having an extra one, you're going to be more aggressive early.
You had a tough stretch in the final 6 innings of the game. Just talk to me about how you plan to remedy that and be a little bit more consistent at the plate with these guys.
Yeah, it's an interesting question to figure out how to answer well. If I said I didn't think it was a rough stretch, you'd all think I was nuts, right? But quite honestly, our bullpen was really, really good. They blew one in, make one mistake, and Hernandez put the swing on it. Guys were able to hold it right there. Had good enough at bats against a tough back end of their bullpen. Had chances in the 8th, chances in the 9th. Guys we like up. So I wouldn't say it was that rough. These games are thin margins sometimes, and so credit to them. They were able to execute, and like I said, the bottom of their lineup was good. They were able to take some at bats. We did a lot of really good things. The things that we would have liked to have been a little cleaner on, as far as giving a few things away. But the last 6 innings, really, if you look at it, there wasn't a whole lot there it was rough based on the outcome and not being able to execute. But as far as anything strategically or effort-wise or the way the guys went about it, I actually felt okay with it.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt before today's game in Game 2 of the NLDS. We just had a bit of a wild ending in Philadelphia. We'll get into that with the out-of-town scoreboard coming up in just a little bit. That distracted me for a moment there, keeping tabs on the game right now. Anyway, Padres getting ready to take on the Dodgers here in L.A. Game 2 of the NLDS. And again, that was Mike Shildt before today's game as we get ready for this one. Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres. Jack Flaherty on the mound for L.A. We told you about that Mets-Phillies game. I haven't told you about the ending. I'll save that for the out-of-town scoreboard. Crazy game in Philadelphia in Game 2. But let's talk about the other American League Division Series. Those series off today. Let's talk about that as we take you around the horn.
What's the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball? Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Brought to you by your San Diego Hyundai dealer. With a brand new Hyundai, there's joy in every journey. See your San Diego Hyundai dealer or visit HyundaiUSA.com today.
Well, like we said, both of the American League Division Series are off today. They'll all resume tomorrow with Game 2. The Guardians beat the Tigers 7-0 yesterday in Game 1. The Tigers will send left-hander Tarek Skubal to the mound in Game 2. He'll presumably win the American League Cy Young Award this season. He threw 6 scoreless innings in the wild card series against the Astros. The Guardians, meanwhile, sending lefty and former Tiger Matthew Boyd to the mound in Game 2. Again, the Guardians a 1-0 lead in that best-of-5 division series. The Yankees held on to beat the Royals last night 6-5. Another matchup of lefties in Game 2. Carlos Rodon for the Yankees. Cole Reagans on the mound for Kansas City. Reagans was outstanding against the Orioles in the wild card series. He went 6 scoreless innings and struck out 8. So a couple of lefties on the mound in that one, and that's a look at the other division series on the American League side of things. Again, off day today for both those series, and they resume with Game 2 tomorrow in both American League Division Series. When we come back on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show as we get you ready for Game 2 of this National League Division Series, we'll hear from Xander Bogaerts, we'll hear from Luis Arraez, we'll also give you our keys to the game, a full breakdown of this starting pitching matchup in Game 2 between Yu Darvish and Jack Flaherty coming your way as well. First pitch coming up at 5:03 here at Dodger Stadium. Our pregame coverage continues after this on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside Dodger Stadium here in L.A. as we continue our pregame coverage before Game 2 of this National League Division Series. Dodgers winning Game 1 last night, 7-5. Padres trying to even up this series at a game apiece before the series moves back to San Diego. Game 3 on Tuesday at Petco Park, and the Padres hoping to pull even at 1-1 when we roll into Petco Park a little bit later on this evening. Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres here tonight. Jack Flaherty on the mound for L.A. We'll have much more on that starting pitching matchup coming up a little bit later on in our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. As always, if you want to get involved on our pregame coverage, you can do that in a number of different ways. You can tweet at me at Sammy Lev, SammyLev. Instagram DM's open as well. Sammy Lev there too, same spelling. And if you want to chime in on our YouTube stream, comment your key to tonight's game, you can also do that there. I may just read your key to Game 2 coming up a little bit later on in our pregame coverage. Before we hear from Xander Bogaerts, we'll hear from Luis Arraez a little bit later as well. Let's update you on the injury situation for one of the Dodgers' star players.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit him up 24/7 at BadaFulkerson.com.
Before we get to the Dodgers' Freddie Freeman, again, and you probably have heard this by now, but of course Joe Musgrove, he had an MRI on Thursday after coming out of Game 2 of the Wild Card Series in the 4th inning, and it revealed damage to his UCL. Joe will undergo Tommy John surgery in the coming days, and obviously a big blow to the Padres' rotation here in this series and in the postseason as well. So that was the big piece of injury news earlier in the week for the Padres, obviously. The injury for the Dodgers, it involves Freddie Freeman. Now, we thought this would be a big deal for Freeman entering Game 1 last night. He badly sprained his right ankle last Thursday against the Padres. Freeman didn't travel to Colorado with the Dodgers to end the regular season. And then yesterday, a couple of hours before the game, it was unclear whether Freeman would be in the Dodgers lineup. Well, he was, and he had 2 hits, and he stole a base, and I think he was moving a lot better than any of us expected him to be moving. So, Freddie Freeman back in the lineup here today. Let's continue to keep an eye on Freeman. How is he moving, both offensively on the bases and defensively at first base after playing yesterday? And as this series moves along, something to keep an eye on. Freddie Freeman spraining that right ankle last week, an injury that he said the doctor said it would take normally 4 to 6 weeks to recover from. Well, Freeman trying to do it in a little over a week, so keep an eye on that here in Game 2, the situation and the health of Freddie Freeman, how he's moving around. Before we hear from Xander Bogaerts, we have one other game on the out-of-town scoreboard, the other National League Division Series, and oh my, it was a doozy in Philadelphia. Let's tell you more about it with a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
Well, our full look at the out-of-town scoreboard involves one game, the other National League Division Series, Game 2, the Mets winning Game 1 yesterday in Philadelphia. Things were not looking good for the Phillies early in Game 2. Mark Vientos hit a 2-run home run in the 3rd. Then Pete Alonso hit a solo home run in the 6th inning to make it 3-0 New York. But then the Phillies responded against Luis Severino in the 6th inning. Bryce Harper, a 2-run home run. Nick Castellanos, a home run. And just like that, it was 3-3. The Mets then responded in the 7th inning. Brandon Nimmo, a home run to make it 4-3. But then the Phillies erupting to tie the game at 4 in the 8th inning and take a lead 6-4 in the 8th inning. The big hit in that inning was a Bryson Stott 2-run triple to put Philadelphia ahead. They had a 6-4 lead heading to the top of the 9th inning. That's when Mark Vientos hit another 2-run home run to tie the game at 6. The game went to the bottom half of the 9th inning. Nick Castellanos with a walk-off RBI single with 2 on base. Trey Turner scoring from second, and that was that in Game 2 of that NLDS between the Mets and the Phillies. The Phillies winning it 7-6 in a classic, really. I mean, a classic game. What an ending for the Phillies as Castellanos walks it off. That series is now tied at a game apiece as it heads to New York for Game 3 on Tuesday. And that's a look at the full out-of-town scoreboard, a full breakdown of what happened in Game 2 in Philadelphia. And now, much like the Phillies, the Padres trying to do the same, win Game 2 and even up this series against the Dodgers at a game apiece. Well, one guy that has plenty of postseason experience for the Padres is Xander Bogaerts. Obviously a 2-time World Series champion with the Boston Red Sox, and Xander had a big hit last night. It got a little bit overlooked with what happened after the hit. A 2-run double, though, in the 4th inning to put the Padres ahead 5-3. You could argue the biggest hit that Xander has had as a Padre so far. So a big moment for Xander, unfortunately, came in a loss yesterday. Xander Bogaerts spoke with myself and the media inside the interview room here at Dodger Stadium earlier today.
Xander, obviously you've done a lot of winning in the postseason with the Red Sox. Losing yesterday, this has been a Padres team that has bounced back nicely all second half. To you, what are the keys to bouncing back after last night?
I mean, just doing what we've been doing the whole year, turn the page. Playoff times, you can get some really heartbreaking losses, and it's part of the game, and there's really good teams competing in big environment, big situations. Those guys, they bounce back, We put runs on them early, they came back, and then we scored again. And, just couldn't get that final hit towards the end, to kind of, bounce back. But I feel like we've been doing it the whole year, where right now it's just a part of our identity, just bouncing back and being able to overcome that.
You scored some runs early, then the final 6 innings, quieter, couldn't cash in the late opportunities in the 8th and the 9th. How did you feel about those final 6 innings offensively against their bullpen?
We know one of our biggest strengths is our bullpen, and not every night those guys are going to be, putting up zeros like they normally do for the most part of the year, and I'll take those guys in our bullpen any day, over everyone. So sometimes you got to understand it's not going to go their way every time. It's a tough situation for it to not go our way in the postseason Game 1, but those guys, man, they've done a tremendous job. Whenever we put some runs on the board, they kind of keep it quiet, kind of shut down the bats from the other team. But yesterday was their bullpen. They did a good job keeping us off the bases.
Yesterday, Jackson had a couple of really good plate appearances in front of you, one of them before your 2-run double. Just, seeing him his first postseason experience, what's that been like for you?
Yeah, that one against Kopech. Just fouling it off, just that kid definitely doesn't look like he's 21, I can tell you that. The way he plays, the way he carries himself, definitely a lot of credit to himself, his family, for the upbringing and just showing him the way. This kid is really special, and I think he has a chance to do a lot of special things. He's already done a lot, but looks like he has a really bright future ahead of him, and hopefully I'm there for all of it.
When compared to last year, this offense is a lot better at situational hitting and coming through in high leverage situations. And I know maybe a lot of that has to do with Luis Arias and Jurickson Profar and Jackson Merrill being in it. But how much of it was just sort of the guys coming back from last year, just sort of buying into an unselfish approach offensively? And how did that process take place?
I think, bringing in Louis definitely helped a lot. He starts it for us. I saw Profar said wherever he goes, we go. We kind of follow him. And he's been putting up really good at bats. Just, it's very contagious. Not trying to get too homer happy. Just trying to take your base hits, single the pitchers to death, get runners on base, and then boom. Like a 2-run homer for Manning yesterday. So looking for that big punch after you kind of put some guys in motion, put some guys on base, get some walks. I know some guys might not be swinging it the way they want to this postseason, but they're taking their walks. Walks aren't hits, but they're getting guys on base, and they're getting on base. So there's credit to those guys, and the offense that we have, we know we're going to come through.
If you could, from all the experience that you have in the postseason, what have you kind of learned about the teams that have been able to thrive in it? What does it take to win?
You got to bounce back quick. As I said, in the playoffs, you got some really, really tough losses. Last night, was one. We kind of were ahead twice in the game, and trusting our bullpen, knowing how good they are, we kind of thought we might have it, but that's baseball. Those guys have a really good team over there, and I think the best part of our team is the ability to bounce back, and flush out what happened yesterday and focus on today. Once we get in that hitters meeting, talk about our plan and then how we're going to execute it against these guys.
That was Xander Bogaerts inside the interview room earlier today here in L.A. Sam Levitt back with you inside Dodger Stadium as we get ready for Game 2 of this National League Division Series. Xander certainly a guy that has been there and done that in the postseason with the Red Sox, a two-time World Series champion, and I thought Xander said it perfectly earlier today. Hey, it's the postseason. You're going to have some really, really tough losses, even in a World Series run, and the Padres now, well, they have to do what they've done really all year, and that's bounce back here today. They'll try to do it with right-hander Yu Darvish on the mound. First pitch coming up at 5:03 here at Dodger Stadium. Let's give you our keys to Game 2.
How will the Padres unlock a victory in today's game? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Anthony's Fish Grotto in La Mesa. Voted San Diego's best seafood restaurant for 2024. Continuing Mama Gio's legacy with lakeside dining in East County, where your furry friends are always welcome.
Key number 1, don't let Ohtani beat you. Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you exactly what the Padres should do with Shohei Ohtani. There's an argument to just give him the Barry Bonds treatment and put him on base when possible. But look, he's also a guy that steals a ton of bases. So if you do that, well, it's almost like handing him an automatic double. But you could also just say to Mookie Betts, say, Mookie, you beat us instead of Ohtani. But one way or another, if it's walking him or pitching around him or just somehow getting him out, it feels like the Padres can't let Ohtani beat him. Here's why. Ohtani is batting .614 in his last 11 games going back to the regular season. 7 homers, 6 doubles, 23 RBIs in that span. The numbers lately with runners in scoring position are just ridiculous. He is 14 for his last 17 with runners in scoring position, 6 home runs in those at-bats. Look, you just can't let him beat you. That includes doing a better job against the bottom of the Dodgers lineup before it flips over to Ohtani. The bottom 4 spots in the LA lineup when it combined 5 for 14 with a couple of walks and 4 runs scored last night. Bottom line, and this is part of the Ohtani conversation, if you are Yu Darvish, if you are the Padres, you cannot allow the bottom of the Dodger lineup to do what they did last night. That's key number 1. Key number 2. Get to the Dodger pen. There are a lot of different things to point to when you look at last night's loss, but one of the main culprits, the Padres did nothing over 6 innings against the Dodger bullpen, and this has been a trend in the postseason so far for San Diego. The Padres have scored only 1 run in 18 2/3 innings against relievers so far this postseason. Now, they've done a great job at getting to the starting pitching. 3 runs against A.J. Smith-Shawver, 5 runs against Max Fried, 5 runs against Yoshinobu Yamamoto last night, but they've got to start getting it done against the relievers. The Padres have just 5 hits in 61 at-bats against the bullpens in these 3 postseason games, and that 1 run came on a Kyle Higashioka home run. So yeah, you got to get to Jack Flaherty, but as we saw last night, you got to find a way to get some runs against the LA bullpen. A bullpen for the Dodgers here tonight that was used heavily in Game 1. Blake Treinen could be unavailable. He threw 39 pitches last night in a 5-out save. Even Michael Kopech threw 22 pitches against just 3 batters. Get some runs against the relievers out of that Dodger bullpen. That's key number 2. And a quick key number 3. Yu Darvish limiting the home run ball. I'll talk more about what he's done lately because it's been a little bit of an issue as of late for Darvish, but in the postseason, it's been a problem for Yu. He's allowed at least 1 home run in each of his last 10 postseason starts, 16 total. Darvish has to find a way to keep the Dodgers in the yard here tonight. And that's a look at our keys for Game 2 of this National League Division Series. When we come back, we dive even deeper into our starting pitching matchup. We hear from Luis Arraez. More to come after this on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here at Dodger Stadium before Game 2 of this National League Division Series. Sam Levitt with you here in L.A. Padres trying to even up this series at a game apiece. Let's tell you what to watch for here in Game 2.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for here tonight. The Padres stepping up with runners in scoring position. They went just 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position last night. They have got to be better in that department today. They scored 5 runs last night. The Padres were 67-8 when scoring at least 5 runs in the regular season. But, hey, this isn't the regular season. In big spots late, you've got to find a way to come through. In the 8th and 9th innings last night, they went 0 for 3 with the tying runs on base. We'll see if the Padres can step it up here tonight with runners in scoring position. Well, Luis Arraez got things started last night with a base hit, and then the Padres would put together a 3-run first inning. Here was Luis Arraez earlier in the week with myself and the media.
Luis, obviously a third consecutive batting title. During the season, you had a trade. You dealt with some injuries after the trade. How would you sum up your season in totality?
Thank you for that question. It's going to be hard for me, but I change the page and then I come through and then I win the batting title again. So I want to give it to the fans, family, to everybody support me, So, and then I think Tony Gwynn Jr. is happy for me when I make that win. But I'm excited. I'm happy to be here with the San Diego Padres.
Does it feel different winning the Tony Gwynn batting title in a Padre uniform?
Yeah, it feel like big for me because I play in San Diego Padres uniform. And then I know Tony played a lot of years in San Diego, and I'm excited to bring the trophy again back to Petco Park. So I want to say thanks God for the opportunity to bring that.
That was Luis Arraez yesterday here in L.A. We'll see if Luis can get the Padres offense rolling early on here tonight. Let's dive into our pitching matchup between Yu Darvish and Jack Flaherty.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview. Presented by Chimney Sweeps, Inc., San Diego's trusted chimney and fireplace service company for 40 years. Call Chimney Sweeps, Inc. at 1-800-CHIMNEY or book an inspection online at chimneysweepsinc.com.
On the mound for the Padres, the 38-year-old Yu Darvish, 2024 regular season. He went 7-3, a 3.31 ERA in 16 starts. His last 4 starts of the regular season, a 2.78 ERA in 22-plus innings. Darvish has to limit the home run ball here tonight. In 5 starts since returning to the team, he's allowed 6 home runs. Darvish faced the Dodgers 3 times in the first 2 months of the regular season. The results were good, a 1.72 ERA in 15-plus innings. That included a brilliant start on May 12th at Petco Park, where he allowed just 2 hits in 7 scoreless innings. Darvish faced the Dodgers in Game 2 of the 2022 NLDS. A similar scenario with the Padres losing the first game of that series. He would give up 3 runs in 5 innings on that night. Got the win as the Padres won Game 2 in 2022. Darvish, a 4.19 ERA and 11 career postseason starts, but the last 5 in the postseason have been really good, a 2.84 ERA in those 5. Meanwhile, right-hander Jack Flaherty on the mound for L.A. 2024 regular season between his time with Detroit and the Dodgers, a 3.17 ERA in 28 starts. His last start came against the Padres. That was last week. Here in L.A., 5 innings, 3 earned runs given up on 4 hits. Fernando Tatis Jr. hit a home run against him. This will be Flaherty's 6th postseason appearance. His 5th start, 3 out of his 4 postseason starts have been quality outings. And that's a look at our starting pitching matchup between Yu Darvish and Jack Flaherty. You've been listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal 2024 BBB Torch Awards for Ethics winner. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Your water should be perfect. When we come back, Jesse Ackler, Tony Gwynn Jr. have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. It's Game 2 of the National League Division Series. First pitch is coming up when we return, right here on the Padres Radio Network.